live. Cheers.
Good evening, everyone, or good morning, or wherever around the world you are. Welcome to the Big Dome live session for the Time Team Oxfordshire dig. It's great to have you here with us. It's great that we've come to the end of the three parts of this second excavation made possible all because of you guys, you absolute legends. It's great to have you here. Cheers. Please be kind and nice and friendly like you always are in the chat. And we're going to have a great time. But what did you think, mate?
Oh, what an episode. I mean, I loved the Cornwall episode. It was interesting. It was brilliant. The archaeology was great. And the way that Emily, the director, pulled it all together was absolutely fantastic. But the Oxfordshire episode, it felt like it took it up a gear.
Went to 11.
Up to 11. Yeah, it was truly epic in the scale of the dig, the scale of the site. I mean, we had a Roman villa, we had the hall, which was incredible, and we got to do some archaeology.
Got to do some digging.
So much fun. What an absolute honour
to
excavate that sarcophagus. And my gosh, it was hard to stop.
Yes, difficult to walk away from. But who have we got? We've got so many people for you to meet this evening and listen to, and a lot of the original team. And we've also brought along some of the new faces that you'll have spotted throughout the last two episodes. So if you've got any questions for Adam Stanford, who does the drone recording, for Hilde on her excavations, or for Matt, who does a lot of the 3D reconstructions that you've seen in the episodes, get in the questions now.
So we've got Helen, Dani, Carenza, John, Stewart, Tim, and even Neil's joining us tonight. So we've got a great crowd of people. So keep the questions flying in.
Good evening, gentlemen, and hello to everybody. We keep saying this, but we could not have done it without you. And I would like to say to you, there's more to come. These were the first two. It's been amazing to have your comments. But we're already plotting a way to find new ways that we can expand the kind of bonus stuff we can hand out to our Patreons. And those include elements of Dig Watch. I've always wanted to be able to show you wherever you are what it's like to be on a dig. And we're going to get closer and closer to the real experience. And also, I'm very excited by the work we're doing with Matt, the VR work, to actually get VRs out there that you can see on virtual reality goggles. So like Neil standing in, this is Neil's line, the future of the past, copyright Neil, was just great. And it is potentially something where we can let you walk around that villa and look at where you want. What this is a process of is authentic, real archaeology in which Neil, John, Gus and everybody work their way through the evidence and try and get an answer. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. And I quite like the authenticity of it.
Definitely. And there's an awful lot of love in the chat for Neil's quote. So I've got to ask Neil, was that the first time you had a VR headset on an archaeological site?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And, you know, it is kind of strange because you put it on and then you kind of think, oh, this is a bit weird. It is like being on a boat. I felt sort of a bit disorientated, and then you put your hands out and you think, where am I? But this is the future, because the hardest thing as archaeologists we have to try and do is to try and explain to people how a few stones or bits of different coloured earth, how do you reconstruct that into a building or a landscape? And it's that leap you have to make in your head from just 3 or 4 stones into, okay, this was a wall 10 foot high with a tiled roof. It's really hard, and even I struggle to do that as someone been working archaeology for years. So that technique whereby we can create the model, and I thought what was great is that we can tweak that model in real time. As the dig goes on and we find out new bits or interpretations change, we can tweak the model. And I think the idea that you guys out there can actually come and walk through that villa in your own way, spend the amount of time you want to spend in the bits of the site that interest you, that would be a fantastic thing for everyone. And I think this is where Time Team scores, because a lot of the time in conventional archaeology, we're dealing in very sort of technical papers, but it's that mental process of saying, actually, what did this look like? And that's a question that's almost impossible to answer with any kind of confidence, but it's that mental process of saying, well, let's try and walk through this. How high would the walls have been? What slope would the roof have been on? Stones or ceramic tiles? would the walls have been painted plain? That's really good mental exercise for people like me, because it makes us think about what's going on.
I don't think that we'd realised quite how big it was and quite how tiny weeny those trenches would look in the grand scheme of things. And when you're doing those evaluation trenches and you're trying to think about how a story is going to go, and everyone's so spread out geographically, and it was just very hard, actually, wasn't it? I think we'd all agree it was actually a very hard story to try and for everyone to keep track of, and so it was a really interesting dig to do, and I think it was one where actually the post-excavation really fed into it. The work that people did, Neil and Stewart and Naomi particularly, that all that work really went into trying to make sense of it. And to be honest, we could have carried on, and it would be so fantastic to be able to go back there and do some more work. I really do hope that we can do that, because we really scratched a tiny little corner of the surface there, didn't we? But I think the thing that makes that villa so exciting is Stewart's work with the gardens and whether it was fish ponds, whether it was grain manufacture, whether there was a mill there or a bathhouse, and all that is still kind of up for grabs. The castle will be a whole separate episode. We just sort of sneak peeked that. But Derek and Lawrence did a huge amount of work in there, which I can't wait to be able to get out there.
One of the things we're thinking about is this year doing 2 time teams at least, and then doing a third program where we go back and revisit some of the sites and see what work is going. Because a lot of people say, what happens after you finish with the site? And of course, a lot of it goes on. The people down at Burden may well be excavating that square feature and that pit, that well. And certainly everybody is very keen and supportive that we do a good job with that sarcophagus. And the thing about the thing you might have realized was that the surface, which you guys were digging down to, originally that thing would have been sat on the surface. So there's 2 or 3 foot of probably potentially Roman deposits underneath it and around it, maybe burial stuff that was left there when they would have a cup of wine and some chicken to celebrate the dead. And that could be an extremely important site. And I'm very excited about the possibility of getting together with Martin and Keith again and going back and having a look at that in detail.
That's something that makes Time Team what it is. It's that interaction in real time. And, it's not artifice. It's not made up. It's a real conversation about real archaeology happening in real time.
Carenza, let's start with you. What was your takeaway from these 3 brand new episodes from the second dig?
I think what I really took away was, it's the way that the story changes as you go through gaining data from the trenches and the sort of metal detecting, the landscape work and all that sort of thing. We came in originally thinking we got a 4-sided courtyard villa, and then by the end we were looking at something really different. And the 2 trenches I was in when we were looking at those 2 sides where we just had kind of one kind of effectively garden wall really on one of them, and then very little at all on the south. And we ended up with, instead of a courtyard villa, we've got something like some Roman equivalent of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, really, with a series of sort of terrace gardens and water gardens. But yeah, I think it's that way you actually really advance knowledge. And watching it over 3 nights, I think, you get more of a feel for that if you do have a chance to do that. The way that you end up with more questions, more answers, but more questions.
But something that struck me in tonight's part, the final part, was how much power there is in the finds and how much the finds are bringing to the story of the site. And I was particularly struck by the GIS of the coins, Helen, that you were working on, and to see those coins mapped out by phases as you did was amazing. How did it strike you when you first started to see those patterns emerging, Helen?
I was just incredibly relieved, because a lot of the time, I kept saying, this is background noise and that's background noise. And people might think, well, how do you tell the difference between background noise and something that means something? And a coin is one of those things that falls out of a pocket, slips through a hole. Sometimes you lose a whole purse. and it's weight of evidence. And coins are brilliant. I mean, Roman coins are brilliant for that, because so many of them were made and so many of them were lost, that we tend to end up dealing with kind of big data. So you can really say something from that, whereas from a single object, it's really difficult.
I guess that's a really important point to just give Keith and his team, the Institute of Detectorists, a massive shout out, because they were hugely integral to this episode. And
of tonight's episode, my favourite scene, I think, was you and Gus chatting through the finds. It was really emotional to see the fingerprint and to see all of the different artifacts in the story they could tell, and the love that you had for them. You could see it was infectious. And if you had to pick, could you pick a favourite from the dig?
Oh, that's really difficult, because and I think that's the wonderful thing with finds, is that you get that real connection. You know, you sort of go, wow, the last person that held this or used this or made it, it really gives you that sort of connection back to the past. So it's quite a difficult question. I think the beaker with the thumbprint was pretty amazing, because you're actually looking at the thumbprint of a human being who was living 2,000 years ago-ish. You know, that's pretty amazing. But I think just because of its kind of rarity, the mirror is pretty interesting. And we're still doing bits of more research on that as well. There's debate at the moment whether it had a handle or whether it didn't. Unfortunately, there's a little tiny bit around the circumference just missing, where it might have given away whether it was attached to a handle or not. So I think I'd probably have to go with the mirror, I guess. And also with that, there's that human element. You can just imagine someone looking into that and seeing their reflection as well. And, you know, that's just quite amazing, I think.
I mean, the problem is with anything the size of this villa is that we can't make our final conclusions. We can't really say anything with certainty until we've kind of got everything, and we make a big pile of all we've found, and then we investigate that. So to do the post-excavation process, that's when you make a lot of the discoveries. And it's really tantalizing to think, well, we want to say things now, but anything we say now, like at the end of day one, is bound to be wrong.
Findings, we've always been prepared to do that, hasn't it? I mean, we've always been prepared to say this is simply our best guess, based on our knowledge and pooling our ideas, and if we're wrong, we're wrong.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, that's what makes it different to any other program. It's that that you can see the process of working out what's going on as we go, and even this tonight, you know, we're still arguing. We'll never stop.
Hi, Stewart. You all right?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Discovered any Roman water systems recently?
Not for a few weeks. No, I'm watching that program. I was totally absorbed by it. It was almost as if I hadn't been there, which is actually quite strange in a way, because when we used to do the other time teams, it was such a long time after they were broadcast. And it got to the point where I found them difficult to watch. Whereas I was looking forward to watching Broughton, and it just got better and better. And I'd almost forgotten I was there. I was wanting to find out what went on next. And I totally absorbed by it. It was an hour and a half or whatever it was of the 3 episodes. Time really well spent. And I really enjoyed watching it.
How you doing, Henry? All right?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you. Yeah, no, like everyone, I really enjoyed watching. It's great watching them again. Yeah, watching Time Team. Yeah, it's really good. And it's a bit like it's like looking at your holiday snaps, but actually with a lot of it, it's like you weren't actually on half the holiday, because there's so much other stuff there, which so actually finding out what other people are up to as well, because it's so hectic when you're actually on site. So yeah, it's great to actually see what else was going on and join it together. Emma's done an incredible job with it.
Yeah, not bad. I've got a stripy jumper on that fits this week.
Hey, how many stripy jumpers do you own now?
Just 2.
Oh.
Just that one. This one.
I'm sort of imagining a whole wardrobe of stripes.
Well, you know, if anyone wants to knit me a bunch, then fine. But yeah, I'm always up for a good jumper. But yeah, hello everybody.
How are you doing? All right. Now,
yeah, not bad.
Now, as John's not here and he can't defend himself, I'm going to throw out there that you, Naomi, your work during and post the excavation is probably the most important work that we saw on the whole 3 days of the dig. Should we discuss this further?
No, not at all. Yeah, it's been a wild ride from actually being on site in the field, running around. And by the way, I absolutely love in this show, you just see me trudging around with buckets going, this field is so big, my legs are so small. This field is so big, my legs are so small. But yeah, it was great to obviously process stuff on site. And especially the stuff that came from day 3 with the ponds. I wish kind of there'd been a trench there in day 1. Sort of looking back on it now, but you know, we worked with what we had, and then obviously analysing the information that came from those samples during the weeks and months afterwards. And yeah, it's been great.
Hi, Hilde.
Hello.
And a lovely stripy jumper too. Hey, Matt, how you doing?
Hello.
Matt, you've left your television on in the background, mate. If you just want to, it's a bit distracting.
Oh, what a gorgeous film that is. Matt, a huge highlight of all of these new episodes was some of your hard work with Shadow Tour Studios. The 3D work you've produced has been incredible. The photogrammetry work of artifacts, it's fair to say I don't know of any. I've never seen any better photogrammetry of artifacts than the stuff you've done for these episodes. It's been truly staggering. How did it feel to bring these sites to life and to kind of work through the archaeological data to reconstruct it?
For me, it's a pleasure to turn these objects into something people can look at and spin around and explore and put them back together as they might have looked in the past.
It's a good opportunity, I think, to bring Adam in, because the drone imagery, the panning shots, a lot of the drone work that you and the rest of the drone team were doing throughout the episodes has been a real flavour of let's call it this new Time Team 2.0, if you will. But obviously, Time Team in the past was famed for its helicopters and its ride-alongs, and I imagine that was where a significant amount of budget went as well. How was it to kind of bring the archaeology to life with drones, with photogrammetry, with the skill set that you bring to it?
Well, hi, chaps. It's great to be here, and it's been pretty intense because our work takes time. We can fly a site with a drone and take lots of pictures and capture the data, but then all that has to be processed. And over a 3-day dig and filming, to be told to build a 3D model of the Broughton Castle on the Friday, and then to have that ready, and processed and things like that. Dell machines, powerful laptops, and all that sort of stuff are going at full tilt all night long in order to be able to bring that to the screens the next day. So yeah, it's been intense, but it's been a fantastic an enjoyable exercise, really, to have those challenges and to be able to apply what we do all the time to these fantastic sites that we've been working on. So yeah, bring it on. We want more of it. It's fantastic stuff, and we love doing it.
It's definitely worth highlighting that I think Adam caught the best scene of the 2 digs of the 6 episodes that came out. Dig 1, episode 2, cut scene, Lawrence and Derek with a beer, cheersing, drone flies out. Adam's handiwork on that. So 10 out of 10 for probably getting the best shot of both. But we're not biased.
No bias there.
Then we got to dig, right?
Do we?
Yeah, I think we've got to dig.
We ought to. Really.
And who better than Hilde? How you doing, Hilde? Right? Oh, you muted yourself. Oh, yeah. You're back.
It's been a bit surreal, if I'm honest, because I grew up watching Time Team. I'm a bit hesitant to say this, but Time Team's actually a bit older than me, just about. So I grew up watching it, and it's a huge part of why I became an archaeologist. And my first ever dig, Phil Harding was there, and just seeing his passion for the subject, it was just so, I just really connected with it. So that just made me want to be an archaeologist. So then getting into field work and then being invited to actually go on Time Team was just amazing, and I keep pinching myself. So yeah, it's really nice to be here.
On day 1, dig 1, how did it feel stepping into the field on that day?
It was good. I kind of turned up not really being sure what I was doing yet. I wasn't sure whether I was going to dig or do something else or make the tea or whatever. So I kind of, I wasn't really sure what to expect. And then the first trench was being opened. I think Matt was doing the first trench, and I was like, oh, I got to be there. So I kind of stood next to him opening the trench, and that was kind of me, really. I just wanted to dig, so that's what I did. And then on the second dig, being given my own trench was just even more amazing. So yeah.
I was a little bit jealous of your trench when we were doing our dig watch videos.
I mean, you got the sarcophagus, so you can't really complain. Yeah, it wasn't bad. I did feel like I had a pretty good one by the end, and it was a challenge to obviously do everything in such a short time span, and also try and make it TV worthy as well, because that's another aspect other than just digging. But yeah, it was just amazing, and I hadn't really had a trench like that before in commercial archaeology. So I do learn something every day. I work on Time Team as well, because it's just so there's so much happening, and you just know that basically every dig is going to be quite good, because otherwise we wouldn't be there. So yeah.
It was a fantastic experience, and lovely to work with you in the field. And there's a comment from Jessica Wicks in the chat saying your passion for the craft was visible to all of the viewers. And I've been thinking about this a lot the last few months. What is it that makes a good Time Team archaeologist, or a Time Team presenter, or Time Team crew, or anyone from top to bottom across the whole Time Team family? And it's that passion for the archaeology. I think is something that everyone shares from top to bottom, from the chat, the folks sorting out the food on the day at the digs, to the tech crew sorting out Wi-Fi on the site. It's the only archaeological sites I've been on with full coverage Wi-Fi, which was incredible. To the 3D reconstructions, the drone flights, the production, the directions, the graphics. Top to bottom, it's passion. It's passion for archaeology, and it's the thing that connects us all together. And right at the peak of that is, of course, Tim, who's driven us to this point where we've had a Time Team series 21, is it? Which is an incredible thing to have brought back with the support of all of the Patreons who are here now talking to us. So I think that's probably a good opportunity. Should we bring Tim back in?
I think it's been great, and I hope everybody has got an idea of what a great team of people we've got here, from the newbies to the guys who've been around for a bit. This is a group of people who we now regard as our friends. And for all those people who supported us, this is kind of your team. We can take them anywhere. You can trust them to deliver. They all work 100%. They care more about the archaeology than they do about the television, which is marvelous. And this is your team, and we can go anywhere with your support.
What does 2022 have in store going forwards?
Well, I've got a kind of scary long list at the moment, because people keep contacting us. I've got a Knights Templar site. I've got a small temple in Greece we've had some interesting information about. The number of really amazing sites, and we're bringing in some people. We're going to be asking you which ones you really want to do. And that process is very exciting. So please keep backing us. And it's wonderful to have you on, which is for a rather wonderful journey.
I think that's a perfect note to end the evening, isn't it? So
absolutely.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Thank you for the chat. It's been really heartwarming to see all the messages fly in as we chat to everyone. And I know that everyone's been feeling the love from you tonight. So thank you so much for that. We're going to go and finish our drinks and maybe rewatch the episodes, I think.
Oh, you devil. That'll be good.
But hopefully we'll see you again somewhere later in 2022.
Lovely to see you all. Have a good rest of the week, everyone. And here's to the next few Time Teams.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To ensure you catch all the latest updates, please do subscribe to this channel, follow us on social media, sign up to our newsletter, and join us on Patreon.